வணக்கம். வெல்கம் டு NCERT பயாலஜி. NCERT Biology Class 11 Chapter 11 Part 4 11.4 Transpiration. Transpiration is the evaporative loss of water by plants. It occurs mainly through stomata, singular stoma. Besides the loss of water vapor in transpiration, exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in leaf also occurs through these stomata. Normally, stomata are open in the daytime and closed during the night. The immediate cause of the opening or closing of stomata is a change in the turgidity of the guard cells. The inner wall of each guard cell towards the pore or stomatal aperture is thick and elastic. When turgidity increases within the two guard cells flanking each stomatal aperture or pore, the thin outer walls bulge out and force the inner walls into a crescent shape. The opening of the stomata is also aided due to the orientation of the microfibril in the cell walls of the guard cells. Cellulose microfibrils are oriented radially rather than longitudinally, making it easier for the stoma to open. When the guard cells lose turgor due to water loss or water stress, the elastic inner walls regain their original shape. The guard cells become flaccid and the stoma closes. Usually, the lower surface of a dorsiventral, often dicotyledonous leaf has a greater number of stomata, while in an isobilateral, often monocotyledonous leaf, they are about equal on both surfaces. Transpiration is affected by several external factors: temperature, light, humidity, wind speed. Plant factors that affect transpiration include number and distribution of stomata, percent of open stomata, water status of the plant, canopy structure, etc. The transpiration driven ascent of xylem sap depends mainly on the following physical properties of water: cohesion, mutual attraction between water molecules; adhesion, attraction of water molecules to polar surfaces such as the surface of the trachyary elements; surface tension, water molecules are attracted to each other in the liquid phase more than to water in the gas phase. Surface tension, water molecules are attracted to each other in the liquid phase more than to water in the gas phase. These properties give water high tensile strength, that is, the ability to resist a pulling force, and high capillarity, that is, the ability to rise in thin tubes. In plants, capillary is aided by the small diameter of the trachyary elements, the tracheids and vessel elements. The process of photosynthesis requires water. The system of xylem vessels from the root to the leaf vein can supply the needed water. But what force does a plant use to move water molecules into the leaf parenchyma cells where they are needed? As water evaporates through the stomata, since the thin film water over the cell is continuous, it results in pulling of water molecules by molecule into the leaf from the xylem. Also, because of lower concentration of water vapor in the atmosphere as compared to the substomatal cavity and the intercellular spaces, water diffuses into the surrounding air. This creates a pull, figure 11.9. Measurement revealed that forces generated by transpiration can create pressures sufficient to lift a xylem-sized column of water over 130 meters high. 11.4.1 Transpiration and photosynthesis, a compromise. Transpiration has more than one purpose. It creates transpiration, pull for absorption and transport of plants, supplies water for photosynthesis, transports mineral from the soil to all parts of the plants, cools leaf surface sometimes 10 to 15 degree by evaporative cooling, maintains the shape and structure of the plants by keeping cells turgid. An actively photosynthesizing plant has an insatiable need for water. Photosynthesis is limited by available water, which can be swiftly depleted by transpiration. the humidity of rainforest is largely due to this vast cycling of water from root to leaf to atmosphere and back to the soil. The evolution of the C4 photosynthetic system is probably one of the strategies for maximizing the availability of carbon dioxide while minimizing water loss. C4 plants are twice as efficient as C3 plants in terms of fixing carbon dioxide, making sugar. However, a C4 plant loses only half as much water as C3 plant for the same amount of carbon dioxide fixed. 11.5 Uptake and transport of mineral nutrients. Plants obtain their carbon and most of their oxygen from carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. However, their remaining nutritional requirements are obtained from water and minerals in the soil. 11.5.1 Uptake of mineral ions. Unlike water, all minerals cannot be passively absorbed by the roots. Two factors account for this. Minerals are present in the soil as charged particles, that is, ions, which cannot move across cell membranes. And second, the concentration of minerals in the soil is usually lower than the concentration of minerals in the root. Therefore, most minerals must enter the root by active absorption into the cytoplasm of epidermal cells. This needs energy in the form of ATP. The active uptake of ions is partly responsible for the water potential gradient in roots and therefore for the uptake of water by osmosis. Some ions also move into the epidermal cells passively. Ions are absorbed from the soil by both passive and active transport. Specific proteins in the membranes of root hair cells actively pumped ions from the soil into the cytoplasm of the epidermal cells. Like all cells, the epidermal cells have many transport proteins embedded in the plasma membrane. They let some solutes cross the membrane, but not others. Transport proteins of endodermal cells are control points where a plant adjusts the quantity and types of solutes that reach the xylem. Note that the root endodermis, because of the layer of suberin, has the ability to actively transport ions in one direction only. 11.5.2 Translocation of mineral ions. After the ions have reached xylem through active or passive uptake or a combination of the two, their further transport up the stem to all parts of the plant is through the transpiration stream. The chief sinks for the mineral elements are the growing region of the plant, such as the apical and lateral meristems, young leaves, developing flowers, fruits, and seeds, and the storage organs. Unloading of mineral ions occurs at the fine vein endings through the diffusion and active uptake by these cells. Mineral ions are frequently remobilized, particularly from the older senescing pods. Older dying leaves export much of their mineral content to younger leaves. Similarly, before leaves fall in deciduous plants, minerals are removed to other parts. Elements most readily mobilized are phosphorus, sulfur, nitrogen, and potassium. Some elements that are structural components like calcium are not remobilized. An analysis of the xylem exudates shows that though some of the nitrogen travel though some of the nitrogen travels as inorganic ions, much of it is carried in the organic form as amino acids and related compounds. Similarly, small amounts of phosphorus and sulfur are carried as organic compounds. In addition, small amount of exchange of minerals does take place between xylem and phloem. Hence, it is not that we can clearly make a distinction and say categorically the xylem transports only inorganic nutrients while phloem transports only organic materials as was traditionally believed. 11.6 Phloem transport flow from source to sink. Food, primarily sucrose, is transported by the vascular tissue phloem from source to a sink. Usually, the source is understood to be that part of the plant which synthesizes the food, that is, the leaf and the sink. The part that needs or stores the food, but the sources and sink may be reversed depending on the season or the plant's need. Sugar stored in roots may be mobilized to become a source of food in the early spring when the buds of trees acts as zinc. They need energy for the growth and development of the photosynthetic apparatus since the source sink relationship is variable. The direction of movement in the phloem can be upwards or downwards, that is bidirectional. This contrasts with that of the xylem where the movement is always unidirectional, that is upwards. Hence, unlike one-way flow of water in transpiration, food in phloem sap can be transported in any required direction so long as there is a source of sugar and a sink able to use, store or remove the sugar. Phloem sap is mainly water and sucrose, but other sugars, hormones, and amino acids are also transported or translocated through the phloem. 11.6.1 The pressure flow or mass flow hypothesis. The accepted mechanism is used for the translocation of sugars from source to sink is called the pressure flow hypothesis. See figure 11.10 as glucose is prepared at the source of by photosynthesis. It is converted to sucrose, a disaccharide. The sugar is then moved in the form of sucrose into the companion cells and then into the living phloem sieve tube cells by active transport. This process of loading at the source produces a hypertonic condition in the phloem. Water in the adjacent xylem moves into the phloem by osmosis. An osmotic pressure builds up the phloem sap will move to areas of lower pressure. At the sink, osmotic pressure must be reduced. Again, active transport is necessary to move the sucrose out of the phloem sap and into the cells which will use the sugar, converting into energy. Starch or cellulose, as sugars are removed, the osmotic pressure decreases and water moves out of the phloem. To summarize, the movement of sugars in the phloem begins at the source, where sugars are located, actively transported into a sieve tube. Loading of the phloem sets up by water potential gradient that facilitates the mass movement in the phloem. Phloem tissue is composed of sieve tube cells which form long columns while holes in their end walls called sieve plates. Cytoplasmic strands passes through the holes in the sieve plates, so forming continuous filaments. As hydrostatic pressure in the sieve tubes of phloem increases, pressure flow begins and the sap moves through the phloem. Meanwhile, at the sink, incoming sugars are actively transported off the phloem and removed as complex carbohydrates. The loss of solid produces a higher water potential in the phloem and water passes out, returning eventually to xylem. A simple experiment called girdling was used to identify the tissue through which food is transported. On the trunk of a tree, a ring of bark up to a depth of the phloem layer can be carefully removed in the absence of downward movement of food the portion of the bark. Above the ring on the stem becomes swollen after few weeks. This simple experiment alone shows that phloem is the tissue responsible for translocation of food and that transport takes place in one direction, that is towards the roots. This experiment can be performed by you easily. Summary. Plants obtain a variety of inorganic elements, ions, and salts from their surroundings, especially from water and soil. The movement of these nutrients from environment into the plant as well as from one plant cell to another plant cell essentially involves moves across a cell membrane. Transport across cell membrane can be through diffusion, facilitated transport, or active transport. Water and minerals absorbed by roots are transported by xylem, and the organic material synthesized in the leaf is transported to the parts of the plant through phloem. Passive transport, diffusion, osmosis, and active transport are the two modes of nutrient transport across cell membranes in living organisms. In passive transport, nutrients move across the membrane by diffusion, without any use of energy, as it always down the concentration gradient and hence entropy driven. This diffusion is substances depends on their size. Solubility in water or in organic solvents, osmosis is the special type of diffusion of water across a selectively permeable membrane which depends on pressure gradient and concentration gradient. In active transport, energy in the form of ATP is utilized to pump molecules against the concentration gradient across membranes. Water potential is the potential energy of water molecules which help in the movement of water. It is determined by solute potential and pressure potential. The osmotic behavior of cells depends on the surrounding solution. If the surrounding solution of the cell is hypertonic, it gets plasmolized. The absorption of water by seeds and dry wood takes place by a special type of diffusion called imbibition. In higher plants, there is a vascular system comprising of xylem and phloem responsible for translocation. Water, minerals, and food cannot be moved within the body of a plant by diffusion alone. They are therefore transported by a mass flow system, movement of substances in bulk from one point to another as a result of pressure differences between the 2 points. Water absorbed by root hairs move into the root tissue by two distinct pathways, that is apoplast and symplast. Various ions and waters from soil can be transported up to a small height in stems by root pressure. Transpiration pull model is the most acceptable to explain the transport of water. Transpiration is the loss of water in the form of vapors from the plant pods through stomata. Temperature, light, humidity, wind speed, and number of stomata affect the rate of transpiration. Excess water is also removed through tips of leaves plants by guttation. Phloem is responsible for transport of food, primarily sucrose from the source to the sink. The translocation in phloem is bidirectional. The source-sink relationship is variable. The translocation in phloem is explained by the pressure flow hypothesis. Thank you.